All right, welcome back to another episode of Studio Time. This week we have, if you didn't see the other video, we have moved into a house where we're using the entire house as a recording studio. Our first session is coming up this Friday, so we're trying to finish all of the details of the studio build. In addition to setting up the studio, a big part of how we use this whole studio has to do with the number of inputs and outputs. So first I'll show you a little bit of a preview of this, how the studio is coming along, and then I want to get into how I actually expanded the I/O of my audio interface up to 64 I/O using a single rack unit. Live room's coming together. We're going to be running lines to mics today. Trey's getting the headphone system set up. For those who are curious, we've got the second rig here, but we've got lines running through, coming through the ceiling from the other room. Down here we've got stage box, 16 inputs for our mics, Ethernet going to our headphone distribution system, and Ethernet sending so we can control our control room computer from this room.
Yeah.
This room is, well, we don't really know what this room is yet. It might be an extra booth at some point. Obviously, it sounds terrible right now. Mic closet coming together, you know, one thing at a time. Control room dog here.
Ooh.
Might need to crank the IO or ISO. I think this is going to be the arrangement. I've been getting the acoustic treatment all together. Graham from Music City came over and helped me hang these clouds again because this is these are hard to hang, and it's a vaulted ceiling, so it's a little extra tricky. We're going with a more consolidated setup here because the room is just a little bit smaller than I'm used to. So really just sticking with the outboard mic pre's here, and then all of the EQs and compression are up here at hands reach, arms reach, whatever, so that I can reach the compressors that I want to use, EQs. It's all set up via the I/O as hardware inserts. So I can just insert this stuff in and out of the audio interface and actually mix through them. All right, so the topic is doubling our I/O of our interface, or expanding the I/O of the interface. If you don't know, I/O is just inputs and outputs. You want more than what you got. Now, generally, the means of expanding your I/O is using digital signal and another unit. Luckily, with most of the audio interfaces available today, they're going to include one or more digital expansion options on them. The audio interface I'm using in my studio is made by Antelope Audio. It is the Galaxy 32. Now, like most companies, they make interfaces that just have 2 I/O all the way up and past 64 I/O. This particular unit that I have, I got because it has 32 analog I/O. That means there's 32 channels of DB25 analog inputs and outputs on it. But what's cool about this interface is it not only has 32 channels of analog I/O, but it also has expandable options via Dante, MADI, ADAT, and Pro Tools HDX. Now, whichever of these that you choose to use to expand your I/O, you can get a total of 64 DAW inputs and outputs simultaneously. Now, obviously, if you're in a smaller home studio or project studio, you probably don't need this many I/O, but there are a lot of times where maybe you have a 2 or 4 input output audio interface and you want to get up to like 12 or 16, and the process here is the same. Now, something you want to consider here is cost, because all of these things are expensive. Audio interfaces are pretty expensive. There's a lot better options now than there ever have been as far as what's available, and not unique to any particular brand. There's a lot of great stuff. I've actually had the Apollo X audio interfaces. I had 2 Apollo X16s just to be able to get to 32 by 32, which I don't know if you've added those up. That's like $10,000 just for those. Then I had the Apogee Symphony 32 by 32, which is also like another $10,000 interface. God forbid you want to go to 64 I/O. You're going to be $15,000 plus in audio interfaces to get that many analog I/O. So with this setup here, this has saved a ton of money. The Galaxy 32 comes in at $5,900 for the 32 analog I/O plus all the digital connectivity, and then I can expand my I/O using this new unit. This is the Ferofish A32 Pro. Friends at Sweetwater who are sponsoring this video sent this over so we can try this out and make this video. So let me explain exactly how this is set up. As I mentioned earlier, the Galaxy 32 has a number of different ways that you can expand your inputs and outputs. But for this setup, I'm going to use the MADI expansion. The Galaxy 32 is going to connect directly to the computer via Thunderbolt. Then we have the Ferofish A32 Pro. This needs to connect to the Galaxy 32. The way I'm doing that is using the MADI expansion. So I have a MADI cable that plugs into the back of the Galaxy 32 and connects to the back of the Ferofish A32 Pro. This is going to allow it to send up to 32 channels of audio digitally through this MADI cable. Since we're using two different converters, we need to send clocking information. So we're going to use a BNC cable out of the Galaxy 32 into the Ferofish. That's how the two units connect to one another to communicate. Obviously, they both need to receive power to them, and then you can connect all 64 inputs and outputs via DB25 across both units. So the next step is we're going to go to our Galaxy software, which is called Control Panel. We're going to use this to route our digital channels via MADI to our DAW inputs and outputs. Now keep this in mind, inputs 1 through 32 are coming in analog via DB25 into our Galaxy. So 1 through 32 line in are normaling to our DAW inputs 1 through 32. Our expanded I/O is coming in via MADI. So we're going to grab our MADI inputs 1 through 32 and we are going to drag those to our DAW inputs 33 through 64. This gives me a consecutive 64 inputs and outputs of connectivity between the two units. So now when I send something out 33 from my DAW, it goes to the analog output 33 through the Ferofish. So what's happening here is we're simply telling our Galaxy 32 where to send our MADI signal so that it routes correctly. After this is completed and we have our DB25s connected to both units, we have 64 channels of inputs and outputs routed consecutively between our audio interface and our additional Ferofish A32 Pro converters. Now, as I mentioned before, you can connect digital signal to your Galaxy 32 in a number of different ways. The way I'm using it, in addition to the MADI connections I have for the extra analog I/O, I'm also using the ADAT connection on the Galaxy 32 to send as outputs. So that ADAT connection gives me an additional 8 digital output sends that I can use. And I take advantage of these by using them with our headphone mixers for the first 8 channels of the headphone mixers. Now the Ferofish A32 Pro also has a number of different ways that you can connect to and from this unit, and you can also use it as a standalone audio interface as well. It's got its own dedicated monitor outputs, and even though it's much more limited, it also has a software routing matrix for the Ferofish as well. I think for a setup like mine where I want 64 analog I/O simultaneously all the time, this is a great expansion for the Galaxy. This setup was actually a recommendation from a friend of mine, Fady Gurgis, who's an audio engineer and producer out of Kansas. He is a wealth of knowledge. I have spent hours on the phone with him planning this setup and working through it. He's got a great YouTube channel as well where he talks about a number of different technical studio topics. He does gear reviews and things like that. I'm gonna link it down in the description. You should definitely give him a follow. Really smart guy. Okay, if you have any questions about this setup, let me know down in the comments. I'm gonna do my best to answer all of your questions. And if you want to check out any of the products that you've seen in this video, check out the description. There are links to all of them down below. There are affiliate links to Sweetwater. Sweetwater sponsored this video and sent over this Ferofish for us to check out and do this video on. Also, if you're interested in the Galaxy 32, it's not available on Sweetwater, but I have a discount code for 10% off, and you can use that on any of their products on their website. So check the description for 10% off with that code on any of the Antelope audio products. This is the first product of Antelope's that I've used, and I've known about them for a while, but I was a little skeptical in the beginning, but I've had a fantastic experience with this interface, so go check it out. And if you like videos like this, do me a favor and press that thumbs up like button and hit subscribe to the channel. It's totally free, easy to do, and it's a great way to support the channel. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.